I picked a bunch of my favorite varieties. Some are traditional to these kinds of beer, this kind of beer, some aren't. But we can't go wrong here. It's a little bit amber, so it's gonna have a hint of a darker malt character without being sweet. And that just means when it's crisp outside, this is crispy but has volume. So it's not a heavy beer, it's not a sweet beer, but it has enough volume to not be, to basically disappear. Either some people like the pellets, you just kind of grind them up and smell them. Some people take a small amount of the powder and rub them in.
What of what I'm smelling inside of these hops is gonna come out in the final product?
That's really hard. Some of them, all of it. Some of them, part of it. While you're smelling these, at the end, if we align on a couple of the descriptors we want, we can kind of verbalize that side, and then we'll guide to these as well.
Step one, you mentioned to me, some people like to mush it up, some people like
the key is breaking it down and heating it up. If you don't heat it up, you can't get to oils. You have to heat it up. So you'll feel it get warm on your hand. I actually usually do the pellets, but you have to really grind them in. And then you just say what you smell. You see what I mean? Like once you do it a little bit, you get to smell the difference.
I feel like that's like when you're taste testing, you taste all the way through and then you come back again. Like
that's what I rip through fast and then I go back.
So I really like the first one, but I was trying to think through the lens of like cooking and
Yeah, perfect.
I like the first one, drinking perspective. However, from a drinking and cooking perspective, I really like this second one over here. There's like almost like hints of oregano in it or something.
Yep.
My pick, probably this one.
We'll get our impression on the hops in general, and then we'll do a brew in the small system with just that hop in bittering, flavor, and aroma, and then you really get to know it.
For this beer, for Field to Fire, we wanted something that really incorporated the elements of beer, but also the cooking aspect of being around a fire. So what we came up with was Sip and Sear. What we love about it is, one, I'm a sucker for alliteration. It's fun to say, but it's also sort of telling you, what you can expect when you're drinking this beer. You're taking a sip, you're searing off a good steak, and really having a good time by the fire.
Field to Fire, the event, is the same thing. It's all about live fire cooking, gathering, hanging out, enjoying your time. And the Sip and Sear beer that we're going to be brewing here is that's what it's all about.
This is going to be a great beer for it. Also, low enough bitterness that we can, splash it on the food, get some of that caramelization, and use it as a cooking aid as well.
John, thanks for this facility. We're down here in the dungeon, where all the magic happened. Why don't you go over the quick process on how you're going to brew our beer?
Sure. Basically, you start with water. You take out most of the minerals and get this nice soft base, and then we grind barley and mix the two together and cook it. And then we'll boil the wort and add hops. And then you're ready for fermentation. So that's kind of where we are right now. We'll send that sugary, hoppy wort into the tank above us and send it to a can. We'll be good to go.
You're brewing us a beer for our live fire event. What makes a good beer for around the fire? You have plenty of experience with beer and fire.
One of my favorite things is I actually have 3 different Breeos set up on 3 different levels in the same place. So it's kind of like a drum kit of cooking. Just the smells and the emotion connected to the foods you're making off that open fire. And then for me, drinking a beer that we made is just like perfect scenario. So in this case, like making a crisp, dry, but malty, very delicate lager is, for me, perfect.
It's cool to see similarities in the different industries and different ways you do it. Like we just chose all the hops. I was correlating that in my mind with choosing the right wood to use in my fire pit to cook over the fire. So it's how much it all comes together at the end of the day when we're basically just burning wood and drinking beer. Like it
doesn't get any better than that. Away we go.
Good. Awesome.